All right, we're going to jump right into the action today, Brakken, which we rarely do. We like to gab a little bit before we get going. It's one of our things we need to work on. However, we're doing it. We're jumping right in. What are we doing today?
I will never work on that.
One of our reviews, when we asked for reviews for our birthdays, said very nice things. Yeah, and then said, but one barrier to entry may be that if you don't know the guys, they can ramble a little bit in the beginning. And I thought, you're not wrong. And then he said, well, but it's also endearing and you get invested in them eventually. But you got to get through that first, I don't know these guys. I don't care about their stupid run or whatever.
I think the quote was, it's hard to care about someone that you're not invested in and don't know, or something like that when we're talking about our personal lives.
And he's just completely correct.
Fair.
Anyways, what are you doing?
Q&A, but kind of this is two truths and a lie. Do we want to call it that? We are going to sprinkle in an answer or two that we don't believe that's just going to sound good and see if the other one can pick up on it. just for fun.
Are you used to lying about things in your life? How often do you lie, Brakken? Or fib? Stretch the truth.
It's 90% of what I do.
All right. Well, today try to be a little more truthful than that. Basically, what we're going to do is we're just going to sprinkle in things we actually don't believe or we adamantly disagree with, or it's not truly our opinion. And when the other person does it, we're going to call it out if we think it's the case. And we can't move on. If the other person doesn't catch it, they have to flag it and be like, you're an idiot. I don't think that. That's the plan today, which is kind of stupid and silly, but whatever. You're listening. Now you're stuck with us. You already push play.
And if I lie and you don't catch it, I will have, we are holding ourselves to announce it before the next question so that, because someone will hear it and forget about this part. And if we come back to it 10 minutes later, they may have left the episode. So we have to announce it before moving on so we don't actually give bad info.
Okay. All right. Well, let me take off my toe shoes here and let's get to this podcast. What do you think? My 5 fingers. Let me slip them off.
I mean, I'm hoping that's a lie already.
I just got done with a run. But let me take off my 5 fingers here.
I thought maybe you had been doing some yard work and were trying to strengthen your feet, but you didn't want to be barefoot because you didn't want to cut your foot open.
I'd rather mow my grass.
I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Barefoot than wear those things. All right. Let's jump right into it. Look at us. Less than 3 minutes of chatting, and we're already to the meat and potatoes of this thing. So these go back to, let's see, if you've submitted a question to me April 25th or more recent. So the latest question goes back 6 weeks, and we have enough in here where we may not get to them all today, but we are going to do our best. Adam Bogey says, hey guys, probably late on asking this question, but I'll ask anyway. With all the racing knowledge, athletic foundation training, and knowing what's popular, if you were to design and host a race, what would be the ideal course, type, length, and where would it be held? I'm sure I'm not the only listener who would like to know. Thanks. Adam.
All right. I thought about this, so I have a ready-made answer, Kirk. Despite what anyone may think, my true passion is not OCR, it's not hybrid, it's not speed, it's running on gnarly terrain. So I would have a series, if grit wasn't already taken, it would be the grit series. And it would just be a series of standard length races seeking out the most challenging terrain possible. Trying to have, there would be a mix of on trail for sure, because the whole thing can't be a grind, but I would try to get to a location and then show you a way of moving through it that you would have never considered taking. River, creek bed running, sketchy descents. I don't love bushwhacking, but trying to make the terrain a huge, huge component to the race. So that's what I would be doing.
And that's absolutely true. I know you. So there's no doubt that's a truth.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the best part about OCR is the terrain itself is really, I think, more than anything is what I love and loved about it. And so I think there could be a market hey, this is a pure running race or this is a foot race, but we're just going to make you go through and traverse crazy stuff, meaning the terrain. I think you'd have a whole market just for that. You don't need to lug around obstacles. You don't need to do anything other than just find terrain. I think it'd be a great idea. You could make your millions that way. Low overhead.
Make hundreds for sure.
We've already made hundreds on our running public races during COVID. Actually, we made $0. No, we gave it all back. So net profit of 0 on races.
Shot.
I don't.
What would you do?
I don't know. I don't know what I would do. To be honest, I think mine would actually be either probably not the gnarly technical terrain type stuff, but like probably like the opposite, almost like smooth terrain trails that are well groomed but undulating and have vert and loss. East Coast, which I guess is kind of an oxymoron because it's hard to find that, but definitely not at altitude, off the roads. Not an obstacle course race, though. Probably just like a mixed terrain trail series. But there's a level playing field, and it may be a series in which, it goes 5K, 10K, half, full, and you got to run the whole series, and you try to get some investment, and it just terrain changes, but you're never going perfectly flat. It's never a true mountain race. You try to find balance areas to race, extend the distance, make it a series, something like that. I think would be fun.
Okay. For you, I would have picked something like a pump and run.
Well, the other thing, so there's a series called Train to Hunt, which really isn't, I don't care about the shooting aspect, like tactical games, or the shooting a bow aspect. Like that's going to eliminate so many people, but there's other qualities to it in which are like, that don't need to be the technical component. I think that's a barrier to entry in those games, like tactical games and Train to Hunt. There could be a market there. I'd have to think more on it. Pump and run would be good, though.
Rich Ryan is almost dead to us on this podcast. Like he's my friend outside of it, but he refuses to ever listen to this. So I refuse
Who's Rich
to listen
Ryan?
to his, and that is where we plant. That's right. That's where I plant.
Rich
my
Ryan,
actually, but he had a really good idea.
I'm interrupting you. I sent you, Rich Ryan, a text after you qualified for Worlds congratulating you. I was so pumped for you. You never responded to me, Rich Ryan. And you never responded to Brakken either, I believe. Ooh. Rich, it's the last thing. Check your inbox. You left me. I was trying to pat you on the back, brother. Rich Ryan. Too cool for Kirk.
Never again.
No. Continue. Been holding on to that one.
But he had an idea for the yard games.
Okay.
The yard games, where it's like bundle of shingles on your shoulder, up and down a ladder, move an entire pallet for time, mowing yard, carrying cinder blocks, wheelbarrows of mulch, like functional fitness, the yard games, things that like
love it.
It couldn't be the dad bod games, but it's like a performance version of the dad bod games. I think that would play. It could be sponsored by like, I don't know, Keith Stone, things like that. Yard beer, coolers, probably Yeti.
I love that idea, actually. You got to get a mound of dirt in the wheelbarrow from one spot to the next, do it as fast as you can. Like, that would be some good entertainment. Yeah. And you're really including almost everybody in the world here. Thinks they got a shot at this. If you had to do a pump and run.
Everyone's got that thing they do.
If you had to do a pump and run, and there was, 3 exercises you could include in your pump and run, like 3 strength exercises, what would you pick? Like, for example, the pump and run, the true Arnold pump and run is like you do as many bench press at, 50% of your body weight or 75% of your body weight.
Full body weight.
Is it full body weight? Whatever it is. So there's like things. What would be your 3?
Some form of pull-ups. Things I like or things I'm good at?
No, things that would be a true test. Like, hey, you can run well and you can... Like a good test.
I think I would do a yoke carry. Something really, truly heavy that just trashes your entire body. I would do pull-ups, and I would do... What would my third one be? Maybe just 2 pull-ups and yoke carry. You do anything else. Now you got to pick something up off the ground. Deadlifts, yoke carry, and pull-ups.
Yeah.
Or Atlas stone, something like that. Those 3. Pick it up, carry it, pull yourself up in the air.
Although they're 2 pull motions, I think it should be deadlifts, bench press, and then pull-ups. 2 pulls would be the deads and the pull-ups.
I'm cool with that.
I think it gets weighted towards the runners still, and I think like it should be heavily weighted towards the strength and speed to weight ratio. So like, I think adding in like that big movement like deadlift would be huge, but then still being able to move your own body weight around in a body weight movement like a pull-up. But let's move on.
Yeah.
Alfred Young says, how often can you race each of these distances? Mile, 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon, all out, and expect to PB each season. How much time in between each race minimum to recover?
So I'm going to start by going off of a 1-week cycle. Every week you're racing. I think you could race 4 to 5 miles in a row, assuming you're not sharp coming in. I'm going to say 3 to 5. What were the other distances?
He climbs up 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon. Race them all out and expect to PB each season.
5K 2, 10K 1, half marathon, marathon 1. Every week. In a season, I think 2 to 3 marathons, depending on your skill level. The better you get, the less you can do. 10Ks, I think you could probably do 4 to 5 a year. 5Ks, I think you could probably do maybe the same. Maybe 4 to 5 5K PRs a year. And then the mile, I think you could do closer to like in an entire year. I think you could probably do 5 to 7. I really don't think you have that many PBs a year. But in terms of matching your times, I would probably say twice the number of miles as 5Ks. And then almost everything else, 10K, half marathon, marathon, are going to be like 2 to 3 a year.
And I actually think it's mandatory for general progression in the mile to race it often. Like that's one where you might not PR every time you go out, of course, but it's one you just need to expose yourself to more in order to break through. You'll often see people with the mile run like same-ish time, give or take, and then they break through by like 4 seconds, and you don't even know how or why. You see that a lot.
Yeah.
Even on the world and elite level, but you're telling the truth there because I believe you. You said something interesting. I'm gonna just leave this one for you because I agree with all what you said, so I don't need to add for adding's sake. You said the better you are at the marathon, the less frequently you can race it or PR it. Tell me what you meant by that.
Yeah. Well, the better you are at it, the more costly the marathon is to you on a different level. Like the demands, the muscular demands are pretty bad to the average person. But the psychological and physiological damage you take during a marathon when you're racing it on a razor's edge is pretty costly. And it takes longer to build up the fitness to bring more to the table. And so much has to go right. So I just don't think you can get up for that type of effort very often when you're racing it the entire way. It's sinking your teeth in. When you're just trying to get better each time and you know you're leaving chunks of time on the table, you could probably run a marathon every 4 to 6 weeks early on. But at the top end, I lump 10K into that too. It's so long and demanding, and like the nervous system damage you take from having to just crank the entire time. It's hard to really calculate how much that takes out of a high-level athlete. Which it seems like it'd be the opposite, right?
Mm-hmm. It'd be the equivalent of being dropped in the ocean in freezing cold conditions, treading water for 9.5 hours, coming near death, somehow a boat rescuing and saving you. And the next day they do it again. They're dropping you right back off in that ocean. Like, I can't do that again. I can't possibly endure mentally. Like, I know what it's going to be, and I don't have it in me today. Like, if you get dropped in the ocean every day like that in those terrible conditions, you just allow yourself to sink to the bottom. Yeah. And running a marathon is not far from that when you nail it. Like, you're putting yourself through it. It's a weird analogy, but it came to mind.
Your window's small. The For the pro, the better you get, the smaller your pacing window is to get it right and PR. Sure, if you went out really casually, a pro runner could run a marathon every weekend. They could cut it down, finish hard, and probably be fine every single weekend because they have so much resistance to impact and their fitness is so good. But to run it well, they have to be within a few seconds per mile or kilometer of where they need to be. And that leaves them just in a place where it's going to get bad sooner than it will for the rest of us. Whereas we can really ease into it and still maybe PR. They can't. They've got to ride that edge, and it's so costly.
From the gun for 26 miles. They got to play with fire literally mile one on. Yeah. And I would say the more tenured you are and the better you are, like the less frequently you're going to be able to PR and expect to PR anyway. So if you're a noob, those expectations to race and PR can be more frequent. And if you're a veteran, you may train an entire year to take 30 seconds off your marathon and maybe do it and be happy with it. So there's also that whole trajectory too you have to think about.
This is getting long again. We're only on question 2, I think, maybe 3. But I think that it's interesting that as a new runner, like you said with the mile, you could go out and run the same race every single week or every other week, and that might be your best means of getting better at it. And as a veteran, it'd be better to run every other distance. Like if you're trying to PR your 5K, a new person might PR 5K 5 straight weeks, like we did in cross country in high school. Whereas for a veteran, you might have to come out running the 10K, run a few indoor miles, run a half marathon, run a 3K, and then now let's try a 10K now or a 5K. Right. It's you just don't need to do it, and you almost can't. You've got 1 or 2 shots at it, and it takes everything aligning.
I agree with that very much so. Should we move on?
Yeah.
Matt Angler says, "Hey, coaches." Matt, I'm guessing you're on our training plan. Got 2 coaches. Quick question. Last minute notice of a 1 mile race. I'm an endurance OCR athlete, other than some short speed sessions. Yada, yada. He says a few things. What would be your recommended 10-day training plan to best prep for an expected mile race? Thanks in advance. And then he says some more things that are not relevant to this. So you got 10 days. You've decided or told you're going to run a mile race. 10 days. You want to start?
This is a really tricky one. But we both have a track record of doing the last chance meet thing in college, where this is kind of what it is. You have 10 days to get a time, and you kind of just do it as often as possible. So day 1, I would run a mile solo as hard as I could and just feel it out. How close am I to tipping over at my pace? I went out in 70 that first lap. It was really bad. I can't do that in the race. Maybe even pull the plug after like 2 laps. Fine. 3 days later, try it again. 2 days later, try it again. Then rest up till race day. But just feel it. And now you're as dialed as you're going to ever possibly be in 10 days. And you haven't had a ton of volume. So even though the intensity is high, you should be relatively fresh, and you at least aren't going to screw up your pacing, and your body is familiar with that feeling. I PR'd 3 times in 6 days in college. At the end of a season where I'd already been training and racing, sometimes that frequency of doing it still can be magical.
Well, Matt sent this to us on May 2nd. So, sorry, Matt. I'll be curious how this played out for you. I'm not going to call your bluff and say you're lying. I want to very badly.
But
I'm riding the line right now. Pretty hard with wanting to call your bluff. But I like what you said. Pick some holes
in that, Kirk.
I like what you said, though. I like it. I'm calling your bluff. That's not what you think. You're lying.
No, it's not. That is a lie.
I gotcha.
It was a good lie.
It was a great lie, and I'll tell you why. Oh, you had me close, and your face was convincing. This is pretty good. I'm glad we know each other this way, because there's an argument to be made to go out and time trial day 1 with 10 days left, and then maybe just do a few sharpening workouts in between that first time trial and the actual race. You could make an argument for that pretty good, and I can justify feeling it out as huge in the mile. So in that sense, I just went mile time trial every few days. I don't think you'd believe in that. But I bet you can make a plan in which a mile time trial starts the 10-day block. Then you just do some higher turnover work in between and then go race it. So I'm glad I got that right.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you really think?
Well, the best lies are grounded in truth, Kirk.
Okay. Well, I can tell you what I think, I guess.
I think I would do 1,000.
Oh.
I would change that to I would run 1,000 meters at mile pace, day one. That will tell you as much as doing the whole thing with like 50% less of the recovery ramifications. Right as it's about to get really costly, you get to pull the plug, and then I'd run some 200s afterwards. And then I'd use that to inform how I need to go about thinking about pacing over the next 8 days. And I would try to hit 2 mini mile paced or faster speed sessions that were, again, like 80 to 90% workouts. Get the bulk of it in, but don't try to work on staying power at mile because you're not going to gain that in 11 days. But efficiency and smoothness and just muscle memory at that pace are slightly faster.
You make a good liar.
Thanks.
You were looking me in the eyes when you were lying to me. You know what? Now I've had time to think about it. I think what I would do is I would have him or myself rip an odd distance, like 600s. Because a quarter is too much in people's comfort zones, and 8 might be a little too long to reach the speed you need. I would probably have him do like 6 by 600 with like 3 minutes rest. The point is quality. The point is to run at mile pace or faster. I'd do that day one. And then from there, I don't know, I'd probably have a session where I still have you go out and do some 200 finishers, but I still may give you like an actual workout in there. Maybe, I don't know what it would be. Something like 8s with 30 seconds rest and a 200 and then take a bigger rest. Something that forces you to change gears, switch up a little bit, but my 600s come to me with a lot of rest. Because you know how much different 600s feel than 400s if you're mile training at mile pace. It almost seems like a different. So I think that's what I would do. And then I don't know, the last lead in, I don't know if I would. You don't want to create too much fatigue too close. You don't want to use the match 4 days out in your last quality session either. So it's tricky. But that one, I'd get to work right away. 10 days out might be enough time to change some things.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the more you've been doing other things and the less time you have, the more permission you have to shut everything else down and go right in on specific, intense skill sessions that don't really serve a purpose of driving engine work, just specific preparedness to that test. And a mile is one of those things. If you have 11 days, you're not going to lose any amount of fitness by shutting down all your threshold work, all your long run, and do 2 to 3 short speed sessions, one of which you feel the actual burn, which would be day one of what a mile feels like.
Yep. It's a good, you can't do much with your fitness in 10 days. So there's also that, but let's leave that part of the conversation alone. But you can become familiar with pacing. Next question. Andrea Alvarez says, "Hey guys, I loved the How to Run Your Best series. As a slower, relatively newbie runner, I'm curious to know if you guys would do a How to Run Your First series. I'm running my first 50K on June 1st, and I felt like the Ultra episode was mostly way beyond my abilities, and it got me thinking. Thanks." Know what I think about that?
That's a good question. What do you think about that?
What does our intro say?
Everyone wants to get to the, well, not anymore, but it used to say we all have the same goal, get to the finish line faster.
So what do we do on this podcast? Do we just teach people how to survive, or do we teach them how to run fast? Their best.
Well, Kirk, I'm gonna hedge my bets here. I'm gonna cheat this answer and say that if your goal is just to finish, if we help you finish better, that is faster because you spend less time cramping or walking. So I'm still saying we're getting there faster.
I think we got to teach people how to run their fastest and leave it at that.
Yep. I think the difference between what we said for the 50K and for what she would be talking about, which is I just want to do my first 50K, complete it, and not hate life, is you take out the fastest work and replace it doubling down on muscular endurance and time on feet work so that you can withstand the demands of the race without having to worry one bit about pacing. We don't care about pacing. We don't care about sharpening at all. All we're going to do is get long stuff, consistent volume, and a ton of muscular endurance and hill work so that your body won't break down on you. And if it doesn't break down, you can do your thing all day long. There's no speed component to a 50K when you're trying to finish. It is easy pace or slower. So I would go all in on, as much as some people don't like this term, bulletproofing. And I do like bulletproofing, Kirk. I do like that term.
Okay. Well, the best way to combat a lie is with another lie, and I was lying to you, Brakken.
You were.
I actually think it's a fantastic idea, Andrea, to teach people how to run their first. I don't think we teach people about the 5K or things. I think we teach people about things that are a little more in the periphery, that are big. How to run your first high rocks or hybrid, how to do your first ultra. I think there's a huge sector of our listeners that I actually, the prospect of that excites me. So I was being facetious. I actually really like it. I think we should do some lip service to your first. You always remember your first. Might as well make it a good experience.
Well, I misunderstood you, and I took it at face value. You got me.
Although there's a caveat with what?
I thought too hard into it. I thought, okay, he's saying we just teach you to run your fastest 50K, and if you follow those principles, you're going to run your best debut.
Tell you how
the things that make you faster for 50K will make you durable. But no, I should have saw through it.
Somebody's lying to you, you gotta one up their lie. Remember when I said, not one up it, but like follow it up with another lie? Like when I said,
out crazy the crazy.
If somebody's being crazy and psycho on you and you're scared for your life, you just gotta out crazy them. So I think there's some, if she says that some of the stuff was over her head or beyond her, then we're actually sort of, I know you agree with this, but we're sort of secluding a whole sector of our listener base if like what we're talking about is too advanced for them to apply. So gotcha. Ready to move on?
Kirk, I'm going to take a mini soapbox here. Alec Blennis, who we both really like, I've seen several times in the last month talk about how he doesn't like the term bulletproofing. And I'm going to be pedantic and double down on why I do like bulletproofing. And I've seen some other people online go off on people for using the term bulletproofing. Bulletproofing does not mean immune to bullets. A bulletproof vest saves your life when you get shot. You can still get hit by the bullet. It can pass through the vest. Yeah. Or it stops it, and then it's no longer useful. You can't wear that bulletproof. But what it did is it stopped you from dying when you would have died. And that's how I look at bulletproofing. You're going to cramp maybe in the ultra. You're going to take a huge beating. You're going to leave with boo-boos, but you're not going to leave injured or broken down. That's the difference. Bulletproofing your lower back doesn't mean you can't hurt your back. It means that when you do it, you don't catastrophically hurt yourself because you're already braced for that a little bit. I'm talking about it in the true definition of a bulletproof vest. Bulletproof windows shatter. Well, not really shatter. They spider web and they kind of shatter, but they hold together. It's not like in movies where bullets just bounce off it and leave no mark. Right. Yeah, the window's destroyed, but it holds. And that's the key. You destroy yourself, but it holds.
I like that. I like that comparative. I don't know if he's more like, he doesn't like those who market, like, I'm going to help you bulletproof your glutes, and then people make a living off of like.
Correct.
I'm assuming that's part of his qualm with it. Some of his stuff I read, you have to have time, right? Like if you're going to look at one of his posts, you have to be willing to filter through the slides to get to his point sometimes. So you got to be ready. You got to be on the toilet or in an idle moment where you can really absorb content like that.
I'm being pedantic. I understand that. I'm not disagreeing with him. I'm just doubling down on why I like the term the way I use it. And that's it.
So you're saying you like what you say. You approve of your own message.
I like me, Kirk. I like me.
All right. Next one. Sirhat Ozturk. Q&A for you, gents. I myself didn't start running till later in life and have been a 200-pound plus runner. Weightlifting and combat sports use weight classes. Now that running has become more mainstream and you are seeing a variety of body types, is it time to update from age group to weight range or a combo of both? I like where you're going with this, Ozturk. Some say it don't matter, but even you at times have commented how 5 to 10 pounds can make a difference. Triathlons. Some have Clydesdale Division 2. Maybe it's the bike that matters, especially the weight to height power ratio. Knowing that you are showing up at a disadvantage, being typically 40 to 60 pounds heavier than front runners, does affect one's psyche going into events, especially for ultras. I know the word is being filled with too many records and participation trophies, but if I'm going to be judged by my peers in an age group, is there a better way?
I really like the thinking outside the box, and there are a lot of valid points in there, but I'm going to double down on not having weight categories for running. The reason they have weight categories in combat sports is for safety more than fairness. Yeah, it's just the opposite of what it would do in running, which is it would lead people to either try to gain or lose weight in order to gain an advantage, just like they do in combat sports. And every single one of them are rife with eating disorders and long-term physical ailments because of the weight cutting and calorie restriction. So I think it would do more harm than good. And so I actually would prefer everything be age graded outside of pro. I think there should be pro and then age graded, not age groups, because age groups are kind of dumb. 50 to 55 is not age graded. It's separated, but there's no difference between 50 and 55 when you age a decade in those 5 years between 50 and 55. So I don't want to hear that 50 and 55 are equal, because they're not. So I think it should be pro and then age graded, so a 6-year-old can compete with a 96-year-old and we can see it all. But I do like the conversation starter, Sirhat.
Imagine the gripe in the formula they come up with and how it really serves you if you're 34 to 38, the formula works in your favor. And if, oh my goodness, we have problems with stuff like that now, that would be a nightmare. I don't disagree with you. You're also telling the truth. It's also a very good proposition. Yes. It doesn't fix his problem or his perceived problem whatsoever. No. Right. No. So it's like, what do you do to fix if there is such a problem? Some races have. I've been to races where they have a Clydesdale and Athena division. Men usually over 200, women 170, usually, something like that.
I think it's 180.
180, something like that.
Somewhere around that.
I'm waffling on this one, actually, because there is... If you could separate the problems it would create for people potentially that you're talking about, if it could be separate, if you could look at it objectively and there was no... I like it a lot. A lot. But this is coming from somebody who feels like I'm running fast as a heavier runner and it would heavily favor me. And by heavier, I'm not heavy, but compared to who I run next to, I am. So that's a personal bias of mine. It can't be implemented. You bring up a great point. It will never be implemented for the reasons Brakken talked about. You're exactly right. Maybe a one-off event here and there, like, hey, like that could be novel. I could see that, but not to be picked up as commonplace. I don't think it would be healthy for the community. Yeah. But a novel event once a year, twice a year, that could be cool. I could get behind that. I don't know. Do you think it's just a bad idea altogether? Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. It's why they do it. Like I'm driving it. Like your thing with being 40 plus is my thing with being in motorsports right now. That's all my life is right now is Braden's karting. And we are scaling the cart after every practice session to see how much have we lost in fuel there. And we're removing, 10 grams here and adding 2.5 pounds here. Like we're scaling it constantly to try to get right in at where we want to be. We have lines on our fuel tank for if we fill up for here for a 10 lap race versus a 12 lap race, how much do we lose so that we come in just above the limit? And you build in a little bit extra for if there's caution laps or extra laps out there or you're sitting idly, and like you get down into it. And we can do that with machines with no blowback. And human beings cannot do that. As soon as you start obsessing over grams and ounces and pounds, issues arise. If in our interviews with all of our post-collegiate athletes, the number one issue that comes to mind The common theme is eating disorders. And I just cannot get behind anything that makes that more of a priority than less. So while it's a great idea, it's not possible because we're human.
You know what I think too,
That's
though?
a rant.
I think if you created an event, let's not be us to do it, but let's say somebody puts together an event and say, hey, this is only going to be scored, we'll call it by your weight. It's a weight class race. People would show up in droves. I think it would be wildly successful. I would show up. Sure, I would show up, and I'd plan to wipe the floor with everybody because it feels like it plays to my advantage. And everybody who feels that way, who doesn't feel they look like the prototypical runner, has a chance for once. And I feel like it would be wildly successful. I like it more than I
It is
like
a
it more than I
great
don't like it.
idea.
I like it more than I don't like it. There, I said it.
I like it all the way through.
Okay.
I just don't think we can execute it in good faith.
Yeah. I also want to say you're fibbing here, but you're not.
Because, okay,
You're not fibbing here.
so the only thing I could think of is that unlike combat sports, where people try to lose weight to get with lighter opponents, people would in theory be trying to gain weight to get with slower athletes.
right.
So that
right,
might be the saving grace here. No one's going to try to cut weight for this, right?
right.
So maybe I
right.
take everything back and say maybe it can be executed because there's no advantage to losing weight in this system unless there's a stud in your weight group and you could cut down one. But yeah, most people are going to try to gain weight.
It's going to do the opposite.
And in theory, yeah, and if you're going to gain weight as a runner, you might as well gain muscle. So it's actually going to drive runners to the weight room. There, you've convinced me. I'm flipped. This is how it should all be done.
I didn't convince you. You're also still telling the truth.
I am, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah, I guess that we were looking at it in the
Incentivize
opposite
upper
way.
weight classes.
Promote the
Yeah.
obese,
Yeah.
fat,
Sir, how
fast
you did it.
runner. Like, you're going to have this whole sector of people with, like, bellies that are just flying. Just, like, they throw up some money for a championship, and Brakken decides to get a beer belly but still train his butt off and show up with a true dad bod and then run, like, 16 flat.
I think it'd be muscle. I think it would incentivize muscle, not beer bellies.
I know. All right. I love that question. That's a good thought-provoking question. Let's go to the next thing.
I went 180 on that.
Yeah,
Look
because
at
we were
that.
in the mindset of like eating disorders and eating less. And I'm sure there's something we're not expecting could come from this. Don't get me wrong. Drink a gallon of water, step on the scale, pee it out before. Then you have the whole thing about getting weighed and being weighed and the logistics and all that. But
Yeah, you would have to scale into the corral.
yeah,
You
right.
scale, you scan your RFID chip, and then you step into the corral, and everyone goes off at the same time. You don't go off in waves, in classes. It's just scored according to classes.
Yeah. Let's move on because we can start talking logistics.
So yeah, if you drink that gallon of water, you
you're gonna have to
got to
hold
run
it.
the race with it in your gut.
All right, Nicolette Joubert says, hey guys, love your show. It got me from not being a runner through hating it for 6 months to now being able to podium some age group Spartans and completing some UTMB trails. You guys are my easy run buddies. Oh, thanks, Nicolette. For a future Q&A, once you've hit your last race, how much running should you do in the off season? How long can a true off season be before you start losing too much to start in a good place for the next year? Talking up to 21-kilometer race distances for race season, so half marathon. I think with this question, it's a good question. I don't know what Nicolette means by off season. Like half-ass your training
Yeah.
until a race gets close and then ramp it up. Is that what you mean, or are you implying base building? So there's like a very operative word there, or how the perception of off season. For me, off season might be the most miles I run all year. Versus, so
Right.
on paper, it could look like that's my biggest training volume, even though I'm not trying to get ready for anything. I'll just jump in right then. You can play cleanup, but
I'm going to say
never
we
mind.
address it as it means how much do I need to take away before I start my training again?
Like how much rest?
That's how I'm going to approach it. Yeah, how much time is too much time away? How little do I have to do in order to have permission to start up again?
I think every day.
Or maybe I'm totally misunderstanding it.
Well, no, from that vein, I think every day beyond 2 weeks, let's say you don't train for 2 weeks, you just live life, go to work, hang with family, catch up on social life, because you know you don't have one if you're a runner. And you do all those things. I think every day you take off after 2 weeks, it becomes compounding interest on the difficulty of coming back. I think you have a 2-week grace period. I don't even think quite 3. I think you better get back to some sort of script.
Call 3. Your own 20-day rule.
I know, but I've done it. And
I'm going to throw your words back at you.
I still think 2. Because then you pay delayed effect from your time off, in a sense. Like, you pay for it further down the road. So, like, I'm not lying, by the way, so I'll just tell you that. I don't need to look foolish. I just think if you think
that was my tester right there to see are you lying.
I know if you take okay, I'm going to take a whole month off. I trained for 11 months logistically. I can take a month off. Like, I do think you're making it harder for yourself to come back. The biggest thing I find, this fitness aside, is how much you lose your ability to take impact. And then when you return to training, all this overuse crap starts popping up on you if you take too much time off. That's why I think 7 to 10 days is the sweet spot, because you don't lose a lot of your resistance to impact, but it's long enough to charge back up. People who take a month off, suddenly their shin splints are bugging them again. And why is my knee hurting so much with the impact now? Yeah. And it's because you took too much time away and you're starting fresh in that regard. And then sometimes training doesn't go well because you're all of a sudden hurt all the time. You should be fresh. I took a month off. Nothing should hurt. You couldn't be more wrong. Everything's going to hurt because your body hasn't been adapting for 4 weeks straight. And so from that vein, I think I'm speaking more than anything.
Okay, I can buy that. My very first long race I ever ran was a 21-mile trail race. And there was a guy there who had run a marathon the day before and was running like a 30-miler the week before and doing a 30-miler the week after. Like, how do you recover from this stuff? He's like, well, you know what they say, take a day off per mile you raced, but I kind of just keep moving in between and the soreness never catches up to me. And I thought, well, I don't know what's going on with you, but I really don't like that rule. I do not like blanket one-size-fits-all rules. And I've seen that before. 1 mile per mile raced, or 1 day off per mile raced. Mm-hmm. What do you do for a 1 mile race?
A 5K, 3 days off?
What do you do for a 100-mile race?
Yeah.
100-mile race. What are you going to do there? You run Moab, 250? That leaves you with 90 days left in the year because you got to take 250 off. Or it leaves you with 110 days left, 115. I'm not here to do math, Kirk. But the point is, you can't lose 2/3 of your year because you ran Moab. So it's a terrible rule. And what I do believe is 10 to 20 days is the sweet spot, or call it 1 to 3 weeks. And I think it has to be applied as you applied your training. The bigger if you periodized your training and you built up really big and did progressive overload and then overreached and then tapered and sharpened down and peaked, you might need 2 to 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. If you just built up, held, raced, you might need a week. And you might want to get back to training because you didn't do so much work that it can buoy you for 2 or 3 weeks. So I think it depends on the athlete and what they did prior and how injured you are. But 7 to 21 days is a great range, which I think means almost everyone can go 10 to 14 days and feel safe.
I very much agree. The first part of her question says, how much running should you do in the off season? That's one we haven't focused on. And then the next was, how long can a true off season be? So how much running should you do in the off season? How much running? I think you should do as much running or almost as much running as you're doing in season, the caveat being the intensity of the running you're doing. The off season is a great time to just lay foundation, do the non-sexy stuff, put in time with no real plan. Go out and run easy and bullshit with your buddies or your gal pals or whoever it is along the way. And if you don't do a real quality workout for a month and you're just putting time in, it's still propelling you forward in some regard. So how much running should be done in the off season? Anywhere from half to full training volume. I would say closer to full training volume, but much less intensity. Especially if you've got months and months and months and months. That is my answer. So it's not permission. If you really want to get better at this, it's not permission if you're a 30-mile-a-week runner to go run 10 miles a week until you're 6 weeks out from your next one that matters. You will not race as well if you do that in the future. So that would be my quick answer there.
Yeah. The vast majority of people have not maximized their running potential, capability, skill, engine, any of that. And so I don't believe there's really much space for just getting away from running from that perspective. If your goal is to just be really good, just keep running. Take time away from the things that damage you or leave you feeling burnt out or really take a toll on you. But let's just keep running. If you can do it, keep running. Now, the caveat to that is that if you want to perform at a very high level, you can't stay at a 9 or a 10 out of 10 year round. But that can mean changing things up. That can mean doing the Killian or Albin thing where you, or Walmsley, how he's embraced it, go ski for 3 months and cycle and do some treadmill work. But yeah, work year round, especially if you're new to running. Stay away from big peaks and stay away from big valleys. Just keep running.
Just listen to something with Jakob Ingebrigtsen about, we bring him up like every week now and it's fine. And I watched a little like 20-minute documentary with him and his new wife on YouTube the other day, and I really liked the guy.
Okay.
They were adorable together, and he's just like a dumb guy, right? And his wife is like the little household things with the dishes and the laundry, like just a normal guy with dogs. Like he's just living his life. Anyways, go watch it on YouTube. It was very endearing. But he said in a different interview, how like he was in the off season, he was coming back from injury and whatever. And he's like, well, I'm high mileage now and I'm running the most I have all year. And then I'm going to combine the high mileage with some more intensity. And then as racing season gets here, I'm actually going to do less and less and less mileage all the way through the Olympics. In his off season, he was running all the mileage, like more mileage than he does the rest of the year in the off season. Then for a short period of time, he's combining the off-season mileage with in-season intensity, and then he's scaling back the mileage to allow his body to soak up, freshen up, and race fast. So the best of the best is doing that. He's running the most of the entire year when there's no races close. And then he combines the volume and quality, and then he starts to reduce volume while keeping the quality high, maybe even increasing. So if the best in the world are doing it, I think it says everything it needs to say right there.
Yep.
Did you see the hate he was getting on his post about diving across the finish line to win the Diamond League event? How it's cheating and it should be illegal. And oh my God, there were more negative stuff on his post of him diving across the finish line from haters. It was great reading.
The only thing I saw was someone who said, if you had to dive across to win, do you belong celebrating? Like, yup.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no rule that says you have to win by a certain amount.
And he raced the strawberry at the end. And he beat the strawberry. Costume strawberry. All right. I think it was a strawberry. Alfred Young. Didn't we already answer one from Alfred Young? He's got a lot of questions. All right. Yes, Alfred. Did. I love your questions, Alfred. And this is another good one. Best fueling strategy to avoid hitting the wall during marathon. I take a gel right before and every 30 minutes. I hit up every water station on course. I'm aiming to run sub 3! Best fueling strategy to avoid hitting the wall. Wall's unavoidable, Alfred.
I'm not talking to you, Albert.
Alfred.
Yes. I'm talking to the marathon. If you're hitting the wall, if you're following any fueling strategy at all, great, medium, semi-poor, you're hitting the wall because you ran too hard, not because of fueling. The human body, in my opinion, is not meant to redline for over 2 hours. It's really not. Like 90 minutes to 2 hours is like the end of the redline race ability for humans, in my opinion. Anything past that, you pay for your sins from the first 2 hours. And so there's nothing magical about mile 20, and there's nothing magical about fueling. There's something magical about pacing yourself appropriately, and it's really difficult for it to feel appropriate because the marathon is so long that it doesn't feel like you're redlining early. So it's not a fueling thing. It is a fitness thing, and it's not a knock on your fitness. It's just that you exceeded your fitness with your pacing. That's all that means. And it may mean that you could keep that pace in the future if your body gets more resilient. It may mean that you have to back off the pacing and then you can finish faster and be a net positive. But most of the time, unless you don't fuel at all, it's not a glycogen issue. It's not a carb issue. It's a fitness and pacing thing.
Took the words out of my mouth, so I hope you're not lying. It's a fitness thing.
Or we were both planning to lie.
It's an impact thing. It's a fitness thing. As long as you're taking in some form of calories at some point, no matter your strategy, even if it's 100 every 30 minutes, if you're even taking something every 45 minutes, say you push it down off a little further, even if you nail the marathon, the wall's coming. How hard can you fight it? How hard can you push back?
Yes.
Can you push back all the way to the finish line? I think taking a little bit beforehand, smart. I think taking something every 30 minutes is exactly what you should do. Your fueling will not prevent you or force you into a wall. The duration and effort will. So just regurgitating what you said. I don't even think we need to dive into more than that unless you got something to add.
Yeah, I would add that my personal experience goes back to that 21-mile race. That 21-mile race, all I had was water at water stations. And I think it was probably 90, 92 degrees by the time I finished. It was hot. I was a mess the rest of the day. And I ran like 2:36 in that 21-mile trail race. That is the second fastest time to date I've still run. The only time I beat it with 2 probably 12-ounce mixes of Tailwind. And the 4 times I've missed it since then, I had 3 bottles of that. And I cracked in those 4. I nailed it once, I cracked 3 or 4 times, and I fueled better in the 3 or 4 and was significantly slower. It's just a fitness thing. It was a pacing thing. It's not a fueling thing.
Exclamation point on it. I'm going to let you take this one out of the off the rip because it has the word shoe question to start. So Eric Smith says, shoe question for Q&A.
Not interested.
Lie. For Q&A that I don't think I've heard. What shoes do you recommend for strength work when that strength work has hybrid or CrossFit-like workouts? Running shoes I know are not good for heavy squats or deadlifts, but I'm not sure I should be wearing Chuck Taylors for sled pushes or walking lunges.
Okay, this is an actual very good question, and I am interested. I don't get a chance to lie on this one, which is unfortunate. And I'm not setting you up by saying I'm not going to lie and then I am going to lie. I'm just going to straight shoot here. This is something that we get asked a lot because the hybrid space of running plus strength has a lot of workouts that combine them. And what do you choose? And I'm just going to go out and make a statement. Lifting shoes are overrated. Entirely overrated. All you hear about is you've got to have a flat platform and we've got to have it no heel toe drop. And then what do the people do? They put a wedge under their heel for certain lifts. Mm-hmm. Like, did the science just go out the window? Can't have a heel toe drop in shoes, but we can put a wooden wedge under your heels and now we're set. So I just don't care. If you are not moving so much weight that you have to be bolted to the ground in the most stable platform, I don't care what shoes you're wearing. I would say don't use soft foams that roll easily and stay away from super high drop. But I'd rather have a low drop running shoe than any sort of lifting shoe if I'm going to do any sort of running. That being said, sled pushes and lunges, you can wear whatever you want. Those aren't going to matter.
Yeah, and he doesn't hint like these are running wads. He's like, I don't know if these would be good for heavy squats or deadlifts. Sled pushes, walking lunges. So I'm not even sure if he's referring to running involved in these Metcons or CrossFit-like workouts. But with that said, I absolutely agree with you yet again. In fact, other than the extreme pillows that are out there for running shoes, one could argue that the stability they force upon you in training could be good for joint stability and working the lateral movement of the ankles and knees and hips because of the unstable platform you're pushing from in your running shoes, right? So it's like, I actually don't use platform shoes these days. I go into the gym with like a cross trainer that I could, if I had to go out the door and run in them, I could and not like ruin myself because I just don't think it's that important. If I'm looking to set PRs and I need to do a powerlifting world, sure. I want to be as stable as possible. I don't think it matters. I think you wear a low drop, firm run shoe. And there's so many super shoes out there that are fantastic for it. You could wear your Endorphin Pros. You could wear your Nike Vaporflies. You could wear a number of these stiff, super shoes. No problem. If you wanted.
I probably wouldn't. Anything that rocks me forward, I wouldn't want to wear, but I have.
I could.
Because what happens in high rocks? You get to walking lunges, and you have to lunge. You get to wall balls, and you have to front squat. So do I front squat in my race shoes from time to time to make sure I can be stable and get my hips where I want them and get my knees where they need to be in a shoe that wants to rock me, tip me, or have instability? Yeah, of course. So yeah, I'm not actually. I don't have a dedicated pair of strength shoes, Kirk. That might surprise you.
I do. I don't use them. I have them. I haven't touched them in years.
Yeah.
You could become an ultra fanboy. ALTRA, the shoe brand. Go grab any one of their frickin' shoes. You'd be just fine. Although it's another conversation in itself about ultras. But
old school racing flats are what I find myself lifting in. I have my Nike Streaks. Sure. That's probably what I do the most lifting in is my Streaks or hybrid stuff.
So basically we told you just do whatever feels right in your heart. That's what I say. And on your feet.
Yeah. Be true to you.
Yeah, be true to you. Don't be anybody but you. There's only one you out there. Scott Neth asks, enjoyed the episode today and very much agree with your principles regarding consistency in the nature of workouts. One question, though. Do you think there's any element of getting better at the test of running the same workout over and over? Do you learn how to do the workout better enough to skew your perspective on your progression? Or is that such a negligible thing that it's not relevant? Genuinely curious. No shade intended. Also, anything I should be cautious of in returning to training after 10 days off with a respiratory infection? Thanks. Keep up the great podcast. It's 3 weeks old, so we can't help you with the return to training part because you probably have already done that. But he brings up a great question about learning to run the workout better and learning to do so. Does it actually translate to the race? Very good question.
Yeah, this is a good enough one that I'm not going to waste time lying on this one either. There is a component to certain types of training that you get better at that rather than the test. And I think it's complicated workouts. I think it's workouts with a lot of moving pieces, a lot of transitions where if you're gauging your workout success based on time, it's hard to tell, did I get better or did I just smooth out my transition time? Did I just get better at moving from part to part rather than better at moving? So that would be the only time I think this applies. Maybe on like a float workout, you could get better at the float and not the on and maybe say it wasn't the best use of my time. But any of those things work your engine so much that I'm sure I'm not thinking of something, Kirk. But for the most part, I think repetition does not teach you to be better at the workout any more than it teaches you to build your engine better because you have to do the work. Compromise running, hybrid workouts, complicated setups, those are the only ones I think that could change that. And maybe technical terrain or downhill running if you learn your route better. You're getting better at the test rather than your engine. But even that, learning that translates over to learning the course quickly because you spot trends that you know how to follow. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say for the most part, you do not get better at the test and lose fitness because of it.
I think if it's the wrong test, I think if you're trying to get better at a 5K and you get better at a 200-meter repeat workout because you're learning how to approach it,
okay.
If it's the wrong test or it's the wrong lesson plan, I should say, not the test. The test is the 5K, let's say. I think you could see that workout get better through repetition and build that sort of fitness, but it's the wrong workout and then it doesn't translate to race day. I think that absolutely can happen. So that would be a caveat. The other thing I will say, and I have a tendency to do this. Huh? You see that a lot. I got better at my 400s.
People say, yep, drilled this workout, I'm better. I used to do this workout at this, and here's my race result. Now I do the workout at this, I'm ready to PR.
And then they run roughly the same. What I find if I'm repeating workouts, and this is so I think you can get better at workouts without gaining any fitness. I actually do. I'm going to test you on here if I'm telling the truth or not. What do you think? So,
What kind of workouts are we talking?
I think people can get better at workouts without increasing their fitness whatsoever. I've done it myself. When I've very rarely repeated, I prefer a little bit of mixed stimulus, but when I have done consistent workouts repeatedly, what I tend to do is approach the first time with a little caution. You know, just I don't know what it's going to do to me. I'm going to feel it out. And then the next time I go into it, I'm comfortable being more aggressive out of the gates, maybe. And then the third time I do it, I'm getting more and more dialed in on how to run the best average pacing for my repetitions, knowing like I'm just getting more familiar with that workout. So I do think that you can get better at the teaching part without your fitness necessarily translating, but at the same time, work is work. So you should be getting better overall if it's the right lesson plan. So it's like a yes and but sort of answer.
I think you're telling the truth.
Okay.
And I agree with you but I would say that that's the power of how to train better long term is you get all the kinks of the workout sorted out. So there's nothing left but maximizing the workout. I think I agree. Early on, your improvement workout to workout would not be a 1-to-1 between race fitness week to week. Like week 1, I did 10 reps. Week 2, I did 20. I didn't get twice as good. I got better at the workout. But once you figure the workout out, now there's nothing left but to do it better. And that means running better. So I actually think it's a good thing, but I agree with you that you can't read too far into that progression early on in a workout progression because it just means you're adapting.
Early on, that's the key, right? If you're repeating this for 8 weeks, sure, maybe 2, maybe 3 weeks, the first 3 weeks, but after that, like you're not faking progress there in that regard. I don't think you can fake it. Yeah. Do you want to add anything to any of that?
No, I'm happy with that.
Okay. Evan. This is a longer one, so bear with me. Hey guys, longtime listener, love the show. Question for next Q&A when possible. I recently ran my first official marathon. A goal was sub 3 hours. Came in at 3:05. So you're in the ballpark. Everything was feeling great. Legs good. Heart rate under control. Never felt like I was overreaching. Then one step after mile 20, both legs seized up, forcing me to an immediate walk. Tried to pick it back up, but legs would seize up if I tried to run any faster than recovery pace. Hobbled to the finish, wanting to push harder, but legs would not cooperate. Wondering what I can do to prevent this from happening next time. Background details. 10K PB, 37 minutes, 21,125. 16-week build-up, 50 miles a week. 7 to 8 long runs over 2 hours. Longest was 20 miles with 15 at goal pace. Little to no strength training.
That's a big workout.
Yeah, little to no strength training, not much cross training. During the race, took a gel every 30 minutes, tried to drink at every aid station, although not sure how much fluid I actually drank. Race day wasn't too hot, but very humid. So I understand why this is a long question, Evan, actually. Thank you for being thorough. We needed all that info because we would have picked holes. We would have picked the shit out of this thing and dissected it and been like, well, you probably didn't do this and you probably didn't do that. So here's what I'm hearing. I'll kick it to you like always. He did multiple 2+ hour long runs, 7 to 8. He hit 20 miles, which you'd recommend. He even went 15 miles at goal race pace in training. It sounds like he hit it. So 10,000 foot view, there's a lot right here. The floor is yours.
Mm-hmm. Well, he did everything right to get to 20 miles. He never put his body in the state it was going to be at post 20. And that is difficult to do on mileage alone. If you're not doubling and running in the evening with already pre-fatigued legs, and if you're not going past 20, both of which I understand why people wouldn't because of the injury risk or because of time available. There's only 2 ways to get this. The only 2 ways to get your legs to recruit the muscle fibers that are going to be fatigued later and not used early on and then exposed is very, very intense running, sprint work, uphill work, bounding, or weight room. Maybe different forms of cross training. And those are the 3 things that we didn't have in the schedule. And that's really reassuring. You get to do what you've already done, add those 3 pieces, and you're going to make it a whole lot farther.
Lie.
That's the truth.
No. There's one part of that I thought for sure was a lie.
Which one was that?
About not pushing hard past 20 miles in training. Or at least simulating.
Oh, I think it's a certain way to prep for the race, but it's not advisable for most people. But it's one of the ways you can be ready for it. I stand by that. But I see why you thought that.
It was a part of what you said. So
Gotcha.
what do you see? I was getting trigger happy here. I just don't want you to. I don't want to be caught with my pants down, Brakken. It's embarrassing.
Kirk, I'm going to catch you with your pants down whether you like it or not.
Let's not dive into that too much. So there's a couple directions I want to go with this.
Yes.
You said something like the marathon is stupid and it's absurd and we're not meant to redline. And that's why it's hard. Like what you experienced is exactly why people go and show up and do the marathon, because it's sort of a ridiculous ask of your body, right? And the allure to keep coming back is to try to nail something that isn't meant to be nailed. Not for us humans who do it in 3 hours or more. For the pros who run it in 2.5 or less, closer to 2:15 and under, it's actually a different race for them. It's a completely different race for somebody who runs 2:15 than 3 hours, right? The amount of time on feet in the pounding. And so in one sense, like, I don't know what I would have told you. You need to strength train, first of all. Like, if you need to call me, I'm going to give you a firm conversation on that. It would have helped in this situation. You got to layer in fatigue another way. And then you may be the case. Like, I watch guys like Tyler Germain. I follow him on Strava. And some of these other guys, watch Connor Mintz. They go for 30 miles of easy work. Like, those guys actually do that. Like, Germain will go run a 50K at, not recovery effort, because there's no such thing when you're doing a 50K, but like they'll go for a 30-mile long run at the peak of their build. And what's 26 going to do to you after that? And so my question would be how I think the 15 miles at goal pace like should prove to you that you're somewhat ready. You didn't find out what you needed to the second half. I think the only question I have is that extended work, with that extended VO2 max work actually, where it's like 3x3 miles. Or these big like 3x5 miles, which I've just seen some people do much faster than, which is going to create more damage than marathon pace. I'm wondering, like, we push threshold and race pace down your throat, but I think in the marathon and most things, there's a big argument to be made about running faster and harder for shorter chunks of time. Like, not like 400s or miles. I'm talking like that 2 to 6 mile interval range that sort of ends up bulletproofing you that way. And I've been feeling that with some of these half marathon workouts I've been doing, 8x2 miles, some of these other ones, some 3 miles with short stuff in between, more another 3 mile interval. And I think that component, maybe I would look at harder, the shorter and intense 2 to 6 mile interval range. I'm just brainstorming here.
No, I like that. And I think you nailed that. And I'm going to focus on the muscle fiber side. That if you put your hand around your bicep and just lift your arm up and down as if you're going on an easy run, you feel some things move in there, some things tense, but then if you squeeze as hard as you can up and down, your hand fills out differently. There are pieces engaging when you use it all out that do not engage when you're just being efficient and smooth. And that is the way our legs work when we run. And so what happens is that as those muscles get used over and over and over, those muscle fibers, those strands in there, they become very good at their job, but eventually everything fatigues. And when they fatigue, you have to use everything else around it to pull the weight. And if those things aren't used to being fatigued or called upon at all, except at the end of workouts, they don't have 6 miles of running in them at the effort you're using, or they've been fatigued this whole time a little bit. And so you have to find a way to use them and get them in on the work throughout training. And so the 20-mile long run does that. The 30-mile long run does that. Sprint training does that. Some cross training does it because it uses your leg muscles differently, so it'll just naturally engage those areas. And of course, Real strength training does it. So you have to pick what version of that you want to do. You could probably get by on being a huge mileage runner or a ton of weight room or a ton of cross training or a ton of sprint or uphill bounding work, but you've got to find some of it or dabble in all of it so that when everything is at its worst, it can call upon everything else to do the job it's supposed to do, and it doesn't cramp up because it's fatigued out because it's not trained to the level that the rest of your leg is trained. And it's a little bit of an oversimplification of that process, but the general principle holds true. You've got to be able to recruit it all and use it all so that on race day, they don't get exposed and just poof, are gone.
It's a version of how you described bulletproofing a half an hour ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to ruin you, but you got to the finish line the way you wanted to, alive and survived, versus, die a slow death on the way in, right? It's what you're describing.
Yeah, my example of this is that at the end of long races or tempo runs or long repeats, my hamstring insertion point to my glute starts to fatigue out on me. And eventually that's one of my limiters in like 2 to 3 hour races or longer. Even maybe 60-minute races, I start to get breakdown there. If I get on the row machine and if I'm working hard, I feel that point at the end of my first 500 to 1,000 meters. I can get there in a minute 40 to 3 minutes, somewhere in there. I can get to that point. And now every rep after that is just working on that. So does the rowing make me a better runner? No. But would it make me a better marathoner? Yeah. Because I won't have that insertion point so weak when I go to do the marathon. And can I pare that down to just doing a hard 1,000 meter or 2,000 meter row and then go do my run workout after that, pre-fatigued? That works as well. Or could I do deep squats and squat pulses and things? Yeah, that works as well. But finding a way to hit those areas that you know are going to give out on you is imperative to really long, intense racing.
Another thing that I like to do, we talk about, have you run close to that race distance in your race shoes with the gear, The race shoes thing is important. We like to save our race shoes for race day. A lot of us do, which I understand. You don't want to take the pop out of those in training and overuse them, and then they're flat when you show up. I have like a tiered system. I'm sure you do too. Like I race most of my road stuff in Alpha Flies. And as soon as I feel like they're just on the verge or they're about, they're not quite what they used to be, that gets downgraded to my long run shoe. And then anytime I'm going out for a long run, I put on my old beat up race shoe. And I just get extended time and it's just getting comfortable with exactly how that forces my muscles to use in my body. And it's just like a little hack, like downgrading my race shoe into my next long run shoe. Depends how minimalist you are with your race shoes, I guess. The Alpha Fly is a really good one for long runs because of the cushion. But I think that might be something to play with too. Just put more time in your race shoe and you could do it on long runs.
I'm glad you said that. I really am. And I do have one more piece to this, which shouldn't surprise anyone. But sometime, I guess we haven't talked about this in a long, probably years, Kirk. We haven't even brought up this concept. But the more fatigued you get and the more stiff you get and the more you run a single stride over and over and over, the more careful you have to be at the end of races for how you change gears or how you do anything. Like, how many times have I ever cramped in my calves while jumping? Twice. When was it? At the very end of an OCR race. Because I just went into it assuming I can plant my feet the way I always plant my feet. And my calves cramped. So now I know at the end of OCR races, I have to ease into it a little differently. There's a chance you got to mile 20 and just exhaled and sunk in your stride a little bit, or turned and looked at the sign or something. You made a movement and that triggered the cramp. Like the cramp was probably going to be there anyway, but sometimes reaching for water at the water station or someone cutting in front of you and you moving to the side or descending or going around a route or something. The further we get into the race, the more we have to treat it like our car's about to overheat. You have to ease on and off the throttle. You have to let it coast rather than just hitting the brakes. You want to keep momentum moving and just feather it like it's about to break. You have to anticipate it getting there because as soon as it tells you it's getting there, it's too late. And I'm not saying that's what happened to you at mile 20, but that's a definite point in the race where you looked at the clock, you looked at the sign, and maybe tried to tell yourself, all right, relax, or let's get to work. And something shifted just a little bit in your hitch, and a hitch in your giddy up, and you cramped. So that's just something for people to remember. The longer the race goes on, the more we have to go into prevention mode with how we use our movements.
Jumped over a pothole, took a sharp turn, slowed down to get water, and then sped up real quick to get back to pace. Those little things, that's what triggers it. And then once it's triggered, it's like it opens the door. Yeah. All right, we got roughly 10 minutes left. We have 8 questions, so we're not going to get to. Maybe we'll do a part 2 here. We'll see. We need to get some feedback on the Q&As, like, because we could do them all the time. Do people like these? Do they want more Q&As? Because we could do them.
Right.
We got plenty of questions. And then we might actually answer people's questions in a timely manner versus letting them hang, and then what they asked about's already come and gone. That's not cool.
That was a lie.
All right. Idea for the podcast? Maybe? ? Race risks and management. When I race, I've noticed that I get in my head and am typically too conservative. I struggle with risking it all and going hard. Instead, I seem to hold back too long and am frustrated with the performance. I would love to hear about how you and Brakken deal with risk tolerance, sinking your teeth in, and just throwing caution to the wind. Or not. Is that something you guys have discussed previously on the podcast? I don't think we've discussed risk management specifically as an entire topic, have we?
No. No, it's usually how to not let go rather than how to grab on.
I think you gotta risk it sometimes, and you gotta risk it early if you've been racing a bunch and you've done it. I think you only learn when you fail, Brakken. You learn the most when you fail. And so going out hard and then paying that tax man on the back half might be what you need to confirm that your original conservative strategy is correct, or it might be a way to learn that that is how you run your best race and leave satisfied. What do you think?
As someone who at times has struggled with this in their life, I think that you're right. And I think that we kind of put the race on a pedestal sometimes. We try to we unintentionally actually make it out to be greater than it is. And blowing up and realizing that, to use that phrase kind of tongue-in-cheek that I used before, no one cares. Your family still loves you. Your job's still waiting for you. Everything's fine.
Nobody reads
we
your
build it up with all this training and all this
recap.
thinking.
Nobody reads that. For those of you who write those, nobody reads
it's okay.
that. Yeah. Continue.
It's okay. And so that paralyzing fear of what could go wrong is nonsensical. And I get it. I've lived that. I watch my son live that. That fear of what could go wrong is paralyzing. But understanding that if we hold back due to fear of doing poorly, we're guaranteed not to do well. Like you're manifesting that. That is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Where if you go for it, yeah, it might happen, but it might go great. But sometimes sending it is freeing. And it starts with not having a fear of what could go wrong. And it's hard to get to that point other than have it go wrong sometimes, or sign up for a race that doesn't matter, or race back-to-back days or weekends and just be like, hey, it's weekend 2, let's send it, who cares? Getting yourself to a place where the races stop mattering on a bad level. Every race should matter to you, but it shouldn't have an impact on your life negatively. It should only add to your life.
I was hoping you'd pick holes in what I said because I hid sort of some things I don't believe in there. Sort of like when you said about running long at race pace. I stand by what I say, but I was hoping we'd have an argument over one thing. What part of it would it be?
Which one, Kirk?
You probably forget what I said.
See, I want to. Maybe normally I would have, but because this is near and dear to me, I know that feeling of I should commit, but what if I blow up kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go all in on just go for it, because this isn't the athlete that's dangerous for.
Do you know what made me most proud of myself in the recent year is, you can call it blowing up. I positive split both of my track 5Ks trying to run 15 minutes or under. I was on pace never in my first one, but still ran a slowest last mile. I was on pace through almost 2 miles in my second one, still ran my slowest half mile. And I learned so much, and it was so liberating. And I felt like I had a goal, and I gave it an honest, calculated thought. It wasn't a fool's errand for me. I got some hot weather days, and I learned a lot from that. And I really left being like, I don't know what else I could have done. I said that you don't learn anything unless you go and risk it, and I disagree with that. Like with my own statement of like if you blow up, you're going to learn anyways. Like, I do feel like if you're learning how to race, I don't feel like you learn as thoroughly if you're a new athlete if you just blow up every time. Like, you go and blow up. Like, right, if it's your first race. As I said, if you've raced a bunch and you know you've been conservative, it's time, right? It's time to take some risks. And so I didn't really lie to you, but I was skirting the edges of I don't think like if it's your first or second and you're feeling things out, like, actually, yeah, like, you should respect whatever it is, over-respect it, and rather you finish feeling that way than completely demoralized, and you won't learn shit. If you're so redlined the back half of your Spartan race that, like, you're just surviving, you're not learning a ton if you're new, right? And so I thought maybe you'd pick a hole in that. I think the tenured athlete, even you have a season under your belt, now we're going to learn a lot more if we start risking early. But early, it's the opposite. I feel like you learn way less if you're mismanaging your effort by going too hot. So that's what I wanted to add to the caveat to that. So I kind of set you up to not. I should have lied better or worse. What do you know what I mean?
You did a great job. I was just only thinking of the person who asked the question.
Right.
Someone who's already to the point where I've raced, I leave it on the table. I mean, this is the like nothing. What is it? Nothing risked, nothing. I hate that. You start a phrase and you forget the phrase. Anyway, point is, like, this is the pretty girl at the dance who you really want to ask to dance, and you're afraid she's going to say no, and as a result, you never get to dance with her. That's what this is. Like, we know what could go wrong, but you're guaranteeing the same result by inaction. And I don't want to make it more than it is, but this is the kind of thing, like, no one remembers when you watch a race on TV, no one remembers the athlete that sits back and doesn't close. They remember the athletes who close or the ones who are up front. Even the ones who are up front and die spectacularly, they're remembered. And that feeling of, I didn't go for it, I didn't get it done, you're the only one aware of that. To everyone else, you just had a bad race. They were slow to start, slow to finish. And did your life get worse after that? Probably not. So is it going to get worse if you go out a little faster and it still blows up? No. You're in the same spot, but now you learned.
Well, and I know this gentleman. I coached this gentleman, Aaron. He's now on one of our running public plans. He found this later in life. It's called 40s, late 40s, I believe, maybe 50, late 40s. Anyways, he's raced enough to take the risks. He's in that position now where he's not just feeling it out anymore.
Okay.
So I very much, what you say is correct. Yeah. Okay, we got one more.
And I feel this viscerally. Like, we spend all this. Okay, go ahead. We can move on. Let's move on.
No, let's hear what you feel viscerally, Brakken. I'm titillated.
That is a lie.
No, I want to know. Say it real
train
quick.
In order to accrue spending money. And then we get to the race where we were designed to spend, and we turn into a miser. We hug it to our chest like, but what if I don't have enough? Like, you trained for this moment. Celebrate it. Go on a spending spree. Find out how far your money takes you. Because you're going to go earn more. And the key here is that the money is not gone when the race is gone.
Right.
You couldn't spend any more in that time, but 3 or 4 days later when you're recovered, all that money's back in your account. And so it's a free spending spree. You get to spend it. And so going in with the thought of, I'm spending it all today, rather than I hope I brought enough. Like, that mindset switch is really powerful for an athlete.
I like that. Yeah. Free spending. I mean, if you go on spending spree constantly, eventually the funds are going to run out. But if it's experimental in the beginning, like that bank account's full again a week later. All right. Last one. I'm going to let you speak on that. I don't have a strong opinion, nor my knowledge base on this one's pretty low, self-admittedly. I feel like you'll know more about this. Chris Fryett - something. It's cut off. I'm a new runner and quite heavy, 240 pounds, 6'2". How accurate or relevant is power data from my Garmin watch? If it says I'm generating 511 watts on average at 8-minute mile pace, or like 437 watts over my half marathon, how would you use that information, if at all, to gauge running efficiency or fitness, or is it complete gobbledygook?
First of all, if those numbers are accurate, they sound very high.
Very high. Yeah.
Very high.
But a bigger
I'm
guy
not
would generate
going to
more power by moving his mass, right? Just technically. Not technically. Is that how it would work?
Yeah. What I'm going to say is this. This is kind of my feeling on all metrics, especially when we don't have lab quality equipment. I don't care if your metrics are accurate as long as they are consistent. And so if you see this play out, you can hold 500 watts for a half marathon and 400 for a marathon, and your easy runs, you're at 380, then trust it. Who cares what the number is? It's what it tells you for training zones that matters. So I don't care if my heart rate monitor is 10 beats per minute off from everyone else's, if it's always 10 beats per minute off. So do some testing. If you haven't done an FTP test, do it. Wear it for, I assume you have your historical data for a while. Check trends. If it's always on, then that's as far as you need to take it. You know it's true. Trust the zones and use it. The great thing about watts, the great thing about power is that it doesn't lie and it is consistent. So as long as you retest periodically, you don't have to do any guesswork. You can just follow your zones. So just make sure that it's consistent. And that's as far as I can take this one.
Yeah, that's good advice. I don't have any experience using power meters. I mean, an actual power meter. If this is just coming from your watch on your wrist with no external source feeding it, you can only compare it to itself. I agree with you. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth and speak unknowledgeably about a technology I don't know about. I don't know. Do you think it's there yet? Can you? Okay, I trust cadence in my watch. I somewhat trust vertical oscillation. Somewhat. I trust, very few things. Not even my frickin' elevation gain lately is off. I don't even trust that anymore on my watch. But power would not be one of them. I would be very low on my list of that's accurate.
Yeah, it's not to machine level power yet. It's not like it is on a bike or an erg. Mm-hmm. It's not there. But with every generation, they are getting closer. And there are now people who train and race using it and have success. We'll know it's there when the pro camps are using it. Because trust me, and I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the listeners. Trust me, they are keeping tabs on it. They have their people who are doing their due diligence, and people are starting to use it. It's getting there, but it's not quite there. There's too many variables, but it's getting there. It's to the point where it's useful now. Yes.
Sure. Let's end it there. We've got, I think we've got 6 more or something. We will just have to 5 more. We can either hit them on Training Tuesday or we can keep banking them up for another Friday episode. But that's a wrap for us today. We've hit our time limit. Any end cap? Anything you want to say to the good people, the running public? Anything you got?
We've watched numbers over the years of our downloads. We have watched our messages come in. We have watched a lot of trends throughout the years. I will say that at this point in time, we have the most well-rounded questions and comments and submissions come in through the website or Instagram that we've ever had. that I like the way people are approaching their running and the way they're thinking about it. And we have so many examples now of people. This isn't tooting our own horn. People who have, we get this comment a lot now. I've been listening since blank, and now I was finally able to do blank.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably in the last few months, we've had more of those examples than any other time. And people's body of work seems to just be catching up with them, and people are succeeding. And I want you to know that A, we're proud of you, and B, keep those stories coming. Those things are like energy that's our currency. That keeps us excited and motivated. Probably should have talked about this earlier, but this is as good a time as any, that your success fuels us, and it's really exciting to see. We don't need that ego hit. Our egos are big enough, but we love it. Really, truly appreciate it.
Well said, sir. Yes, and thanks for those who've been listening to us over the years, sticking with us. If you're new, which we've had some new eyes on the podcast recently. Brakken and I were talking, I don't know when it was, before we officially started recording here one of these past weeks, and it's about, as a podcast host, you feel like you just covered topics, right? Like we just talked about strength training for runners, or we just talked about, track workouts. And then it's like, well, we did 2.5 years ago. To us, it seems like we already covered that and shouldn't go back. We need to think of something new, but we are circling the waters of re-hitting a lot of topics we've hit in the past, mostly because there's new listeners, especially in the pure running space. We're gathering you folks. We're holding strong there. And then, too, like I listen to a lot of outdoor podcasts, and when they repeat topics, I always listen and always pick something else up, or their views have changed. So you might get some repeat episodes of things that we've done in the past, only because we've learned more. It's time to hit them again, things like that. So if you have any thoughts on that, you can let us know as well. But with that, I say we sign off for the day. Hopefully we got you through most of your long run if you're listening to us during that. And if not, don't go listen to a second-tier podcast like Race Brain or something like that. Find something else.
That's right. Those guys are frauds.
Losers.
All right. I'm going to try to get this out tonight, Kirk, because I want people to have one more reminder. High Rocks World Championships tomorrow. NCAA track is happening already. Europeans championships are coming up. Get outside and run, and then get back inside and watch some good running this weekend.
So much right now. Yeah. They've already done some finals in the NCAAs. The 10K finish was pretty crazy. That's all I'm going to say. Shall we sign off?
Good night and good luck.